Hi, everybody. It's Linda G, and today I have Kevin, the healing medium. And
Hi,
just in this
everybody.
little short time of getting to talk to him and having him talk about me to my satisfaction, uh, hail Linda,
Woo!
hail Linda. I
Love
was just telling him
it.
it's weird because I just updated my bio, and I've had over 288 million hits views on
That's so
YouTube.
awesome.
And I just told him, gee, you think Brad Pitt's one of them?
Yeah, let me
That's
tune
all
into
I'm worried
that.
about.
I think he's heard about you.
It's so funny because you know how people kind of treat you like you're a celebrity, but I feel just as down home. My guides even told me when they said you're going to do this work and you will help calm people down. The last thing I didn't mention to you guys that's also in my book is, they said, but if your ego gets involved, we will remove
Hmm.
your gift.
Yeah. Sometimes that's why it happens at the perfect time because we've experienced life and we've been able to go through the egotistical moments that don't serve us or anybody else. Then we're at this place where it's like we can put that to the side and we
Right.
can show up in the fullness and be that the demonstration, the inspiration, the hope, and all of that. And I was just saying that to you, Linda. I watch you and I admire you, and the big takeaway from me, whatever you're reading on, what comes through so purely and so effortlessly, really, and with such a good sense of humor, is leaving people with a sense of hope. And that is
That's
something
my
that
purpose.
it's the number one intention. And I think it says so many things about you, about your integrity, your ethic around it. And in that, I'm so honored to be here and
Oh,
in this
thank you.
conversation. I mean that. So
Thank
thank
you.
you. Hmm.
Thank you. And there's a lot of people who wrote and didn't even ask questions, just said, "You're gonna love me. It's fantastic." So,
Aw.
and unfortunately, I just found out you're like booked through the rest of the year, kind of like me. But
Well, you
I'm
know what I do?
retiring. He isn't.
I'm not retiring anytime soon. I actually don't think you're going to retire,
What? Well, I'm
Linda.
gonna retire from readings.
Oh, okay.
I'll still do YouTube and I'll still give. I'm not doing paid readings. I'll still
Oh,
give
okay.
away readings.
Okay, good.
So,
Um, I am booked. However, what I have created and spirit led me in this to, and I was struggling because I didn't want to even admit how far advanced I was booked. But what they came up with was every month I do about five to maybe seven readings that open up so that I can fill those spots in. And that's truly been such a blessing. I don't worry about it anymore in the way that I felt like some people were, I didn't want to have to say no to certain people.
right,
And it's
I see.
not, yeah. And so just being in that,
So
I'm so
you
grateful.
concentrate more on mediumship.
Mediumship and psychic, yeah, and healing. I mean, I'm also a healer. I do different modalities of healing from Reiki. A lot of my training has been more international and specifically in the UK for the spiritual healing. And so that's why Spirit said to me one day, I was kind of like, I wanted to come up with a name. And of course, Kevin is fine, and mediumship and evidential and all of that. But there was this moment where I was sitting in meditation, I was sitting in the power, and they said, what people need is healing. And we all do, you included, and everybody else. We go through life and we always are in a place of healing. And so I heard the healing medium and I went, okay. And I
That's
didn't
it.
resist. It felt good. And yeah, so I feel like in the readings, that's my intention, is that I want to leave people with a sense of hope and inspiration. And to me, that's healing. So
And you
yeah,
have a YouTube channel.
I do. I started
What's it
it. Yeah.
called?
It's called The Healing Medium. I was a guest on the Nasty Women, on Spirit Intuitive Tarot, on Debbie Freebird and Kevin Loving Vibration. All these people were
All
so
the family.
gracious.
This is
All
family.
the family. Because here's the thing, Linda, like little secret, I don't read tarot. I mean,
That's
I
okay.
I have all these decks. I don't read tarot, and the least amount of my reading is around politics. However, this community was like, it was just like the extension of family that feels so right. And the family, the chat community, everybody's just welcomed me into it, and it feels amazing. Because like, the deepest intention that I've had since I was a kid was to help people. And
Yes.
before I even understood it, it was still something that I was aware of. And so the unfolding of these abilities, if you will, is the gift part of it comes when we're in this exchange, when
When
we're
you're
in the conversation, when we're in the readings, when we're in that community. That's the gift, because none of us are separate from these abilities. We all actually, I know this, like I know it. We all have these abilities, and yes, they can look different,
mm-hmm.
but the gift part of it comes when we're in the sharing of it. And
Well,
so in that,
vibrationally, you have to match it. That which is likened to
yeah,
itself is drawn. You cannot
yeah,
create what you're not. You can't heal if you can't tap into universal consciousness, into
yes,
the kingdom of heaven within. Like I tell
yes,
people that somebody wrote, "Oh, I'm alone," blah. I said, "You're never alone.
no,
You've always connected to source. You're
yeah,
always part of the game plan." But we
yeah,
isolate ourselves due to ego and the human thing, because
yeah,
sometimes our parents can really mess us up too.
sure,
So this world, this earth is quite a challenge.
yeah,
Now,
it's
how
it's
did you
downright
know?
hard.
Yeah. How did you know? When did you, were you little when you knew you had the
Mhm.
gift?
Yeah. I remember, like, that's the thing. I don't have a time where I didn't remember this feeling of being connected. And that's the thing. Like, I was raised in a family where my grandma um, was really open about it. Like, she was so cool. And she would say things to me like, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if like a UFO landed in the backyard?" And I was like, I was lit up. I was
That's
like,
something I would say.
yes. And I flippin' loved it. And so in that, like, and then she would tell me her ghost stories and her experiences. And I truthfully, I listened to those stories countless times, but every time I listened, it was like it just did something to me where my awareness and my knowing of that
Right.
was there. And so, there were people that didn't understand it. I had imaginary friends, and I had these experiences, and I knew of things that occurred before they happened, and I would share it with people. And mainly the adults, they didn't know how to kind of be in conversation about it, or like, what is wrong with this kid or whatever.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so you kind of step away, although you're still in that, you step away. And so yeah, I don't remember a time where I didn't know that I wanted to um, be in this. And yeah,
When
it's
did you
my,
realize that you were connected to the other side?
I would say the one that stands out, I was 14, and my grandma had been sick, and my parents had gone out of town to visit her. And she had had cancer, and she was fighting, but she was getting, there was improvement. And so they came back home, and I remember my mom and dad were talking, and I could hear things when I wasn't even in the room around the conversation, and I could feel things. And I didn't feel settled around it. And so one night I woke up in the middle of the night. I was 14 years old, and my grandma was standing at the end of my bed, and it was just so peaceful. And she told me, she said, "Kevin," she said, "I'm going to be leaving." And I said, "Okay." And I was always curious. And so I said, "Well, where are you going?" And she said to me, she said, "Well, I don't even actually know," she said, "but I know that I'll be okay." And she said, "What I want you to know is that I'm always here. Even though you're not going to be able to see me, I'm always here." And I went, okay. She then told me how the next kind of unfoldment was going to go, as far as who was going to phone, who was going to answer the phone, what they were going to say, all of these things. The next morning I woke up and I had this conversation with my mom and dad. Little did I know, everything had already occurred. I had still been sleeping, and everything that she had told me, I was telling them. And my parents were like, "How did you know?" Like, they were just in awe. "How did you know this?" and I shared, and I don't even remember them really going like, oh, I believe you, or I don't. I just remember that that was the moment where I knew that death, as we call it, was an illusion, and that there is no such thing as
Oh
death.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You imagine the shock with me because my parents are atheists.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it is paradise over there, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. And that's the hard part for them when they cross over, because they probably mourned heavily for others on the earth, but they always are looking like, "Why are you mourning so hard? I'm right here."
Right. You know, that's the beautiful thing. I love that you say that, because we get these, and anything that I share, when it comes to my knowings, it's beyond my own beliefs. It's been proven. I've done hundreds and hundreds of readings, and it's spirit that teaches me. My
Yes.
guides, all of spirit, and we are spirit. And so in that, I share the teachings that they have said to me time and time again. And now my trust is so deep that it's just beyond my own beliefs. It's that place of knowing. And that's what the beautiful thing is, they continue, and what they sit in, and the only way that I can describe it in a word that other people usually will understand and it'll resonate
Yeah.
is a feeling of love. And all the rest of it, they don't miss us. And sometimes that's hard to hear. They don't miss us because they are here. They are here with us. We
Yeah.
don't have to look, beyond our own nose
But
to know.
one of the very first, when I was working at Angel Heart, post cancer, my abilities went through the roof. Was
Yeah.
a young man who died in a motorcycle accident, and I was reading his mother. He came through the wall. I saw him in full form with the crystal blue eyes and the beard and the motorcycle boots. And when he came through, he proceeded to tell me exactly what happened, how he died, the girl he was living with, the two children they had. And this woman's wailing, and I can't look at her because I'll start crying too. And then he looked at me, I'll never forget it, and he said, "Would you tell her to knock it off?
Mm,
Tell her I'm more alive now than when I had a body."
yes. Wow.
And a lot of people that go, "Oh, and I wasn't there by his side when he died. I
Hmm.
didn't make it." But and they're always like, "I'm not in that body. It's cool." Like
Yeah.
we go to gray sites, you know. They'll
Yeah.
show up when we go, but they don't live
Yeah.
there. So
No.
it's comforting for some people to know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always perfect. However it ends, if you will, it's always perfect. And we struggle with that. But upon passing, people have their reflection, the period of time where they get to see the impact that they have on other people. And in that reflection, they will revisit all of the emotions attached to it,
Right.
for the learning part of it. But then they let it go. That's the thing. They
Right.
don't sit there in the upset. They don't sit there in the guilt, and they're continuing to evolve and grow and even learn themselves. So it's, yeah, the
Do you do you get the sorries?
do I get what?
Do you get the deceased to saying they're sorry?
Um,
I get that a lot.
I love that question. And yes, what they say sorry for, they don't do it for their benefit. They do it for the loved one
Right.
that, is in the grief and in the struggle and in the upset and need to have the healing. That's why they come through. And the languaging of it is, yes, I've relayed, sorry from this loved one, but they're not in that sorrow and upset of it. They're doing it for the sitter, the one
Right. Well,
who's,
they have to go through a review.
yeah.
You see that they have to go
uh,
through a review and feel
yeah,
if they were like not a good father, they have to
yeah,
relive everything that you felt. And
absolutely.
they have to really look at it. So a lot of times I'll get a spirit come right in with a total stranger and immediately say, "Tell my daughter I'm sorry."
Yeah,
And they literally will even say some things that are pretty horrible that they did.
yeah, yeah,
And but it actually is healing for that person.
yeah. I had a reading this morning, and the dad, that's what he came through the door saying. He was sorry. And then the detail of it was the not nice parts about it. And that's the ability of spirit, is that they take full responsibility. They see the impact, and that's the thing
You know
where
what gets me is they don't. I had a girl that came in years ago into Angel Heart, and her mother had a lot of money, and her
mm,
mother would make money the issue for the family. She was the overseer of money, and so when she died, she was no longer in control, and her energy was flying around in the room I was in, and this girl was just shaking. She was so upset. She had decided, because she was mad at the other daughter, she left her nothing, and was very
oh,
specific about that daughter that was in with me, not to leave her daughter a dime. Don't give her anything, which put a lot of burden on that girl.
right.
And then later on, even the sister died.
Oh,
So, but later she came in several times. She started to calm down. But the thing I like about being in spirit form, if somebody comes in and says, my parents had my brother in charge and he ripped us off.
uh,
I know my parents are rolling in their graves, and it's not that way with them, because money means nothing to them. Maybe
no.
in life they would have been upset.
Yeah,
They are more sorrowful about the soul energy of the person that stole from their own family.
yeah,
Isn't that a shame? Look what he did to himself.
yeah. And on a deeper, it's the evidence that proves that there is life after life in that evolution of spirit, where they were jerks here on earth, doing things that were not good.
No,
And there's that, um, there's that acceptance of responsibility, and that's it. I love the exchange in that. And sometimes, the stuff that's brought through is not it's not all love and light, in the sense
no,
that it's some stuff that's can be really horrendous.
right,
But it's usually always, I mean, it's always necessary for the person to hear.
right,
And
right.
yeah.
You have a real good soul, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Linda.
That's what your grandmother just told me.
Oh, she
So,
was my favorite.
oh yeah, she
Mhm.
loves you just to the moon and back. But listen,
Uh,
I'm getting I've been praying for the people that died tragically in New Jersey,
yeah.
and also Uvalde in Texas. And I've been energetically every night trying to put out the light. Now,
Mhm.
I don't tend to read people who just post traumatically died, because sometimes it's very confusing. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Especially
Yeah.
for them. People who die suddenly like that sometimes take bodies right away.
Yeah.
They hop into another body, but there's a lot of confusion. But is there does the prayers help those on the other side?
1,000%.
Okay.
It's energy. And that I've asked that specific question to my guides, to spirit, and I've heard it, and it's a full body yes. It's one of those places I get
Right.
excited about. They do. It makes such a difference. It makes such a difference. And because we're not separate. That's the thing. We have this illusion that so many things are separate. And it's just sometimes that little whisper, that little flicker of our awareness being brought somewhere. And we are all so connected.
Right.
So in our thoughts, in our feelings, in our how we language things, in our action, we're all connected. And so the impact of prayer is they I don't even know how to put it into words. The difference and the greatness in it. It's everything. They say it's everything, and it lights them up, like the emotion of like the love and that vibration and that expansion, when we're in that place of hope and prayer and good intention for other people. It's I don't want to say it's the main reason that we're here, but it's a huge part, a huge
That's right.
aspect of why we're here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to get pretty famous, by the way. I just heard that too. I know when Patty Arquette, not Patty Arquette, Patty McLean told me that I was going to get famous. I
Mm,
thought Hollywood, but it's because of your work.
Yeah.
I just heard that, so take it or leave it.
Well, I've heard it my whole life.
And listen, let's say that crazy psycho or psychic named Linda.
Yeah, I love
Okay,
it.
this is from Dawn. This is a very interesting question.
Yeah.
When I perform Reiki on people, I only see colors and shapes in my mind's eye. I always hear
Mm.
people seeing ascended masters and such. It makes me jealous, as I do not.
Mm.
LOL. Is this just the way my healing presents in the mind's eye? I love your show. Very inspirational. Thank you.
Mm. Um,
Do you do Reiki?
I'm a Reiki master and a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What I instantly get from that is how spirit presents itself, whether it be angelic guides, loved ones, energy work, healing, all of it. It can look very different from what the box we sometimes put it in. And what they're saying is, you're seeing me. They're saying that you are seeing me. So in that, I would not be surprised that you are actually working with angelic realm guides, deities that
Right.
sometimes how they present will be something that we will be able to see. And in that, I love it, Linda. You said something at the very beginning, and they're reminding me of this. I watched, I don't come from a religious background.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about religion is that the premise of no matter what religion it is the foundation is love and
Right.
love only. And love is a feeling. And I watched the movie, oh heavens, Mary Magdalene. And you talked about the kingdom of heaven. And
Yes,
that
you did.
was yeah. And it was the misconception of the people thinking that it was
Out
all
there.
about the visual. Yes. And it was it was what she recounted was it was a feeling. And it was, to me, it was the expansion of love. And so if you can, what they're saying, look past the color and all of the things that we label things with, go into the feeling. And that's the
Right.
place that, yeah. So I don't think you are separate from, and I don't think you have to be envious of what other people have. The beauty of what the exchanges with you is just as special. And I think sometimes we get little pieces of it, and then in that unveiling we go,
Right.
oh my gosh, that was actually them, or this or that. So that's what I'm getting intuitively for her in that question. So
Right.
and there's more to be unveiled for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's that connection to source. There's different things that happen while you connect. And one of them, which is surprisingly, because I was raised with atheists, but I went to Catholic, Protestant, Mormon, you
Mhm.
name it. One of the things they talked about is confession in
Mm.
Catholic Church and being in grace for what you have. And I always looked at that like a pain, like you always had to say thank
Mm.
you. What do you say? Yeah, whatever, thank you. But actually being in grace for what you have puts you in a vibrational mode that's very powerful. I
Yeah.
really started practicing post cancer. I even am in grace for my cancer. And
Yeah.
it just catapulted me. So that's being grace for everything you have.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the most healing vibration in that, because we are, we're letting all of the humanness kind of course it's always there, but kind of not be the most what are they saying? The most, like, not the most significant, but the most predominant part of us. And so in that, we're not separate from miracle. We're
No,
not separate from any kind of healing. We're not separate from, and sometimes it's just with, the thoughts that we have around it. And in that, because people come to me and they're stage 4 and they're like all of these things that are terminal, and I never would tell someone that I can heal. I'm a part of something that is far more intelligent and far more powerful and far more capable of all of the healing. But what I do say is that none of us are separate from that. None of us are
no.
excluded from like the healings and the yeah. So not to get off topic, but I
Well,
get so
the Jesus factor, I've always had a love for Jesus, even though
Mm,
you know, we can have our arguments of what he represented. I think that Shroud of Turin with all the science, he manifested to the other side. There's masters in India that manifest too, so he can come in and out. But the thing that I found that was interesting of him is he had said that he heals. Okay, he heals people
Mm-hmm.
or gives them the power to heal themselves.
Yeah.
But he said he could not heal someone who had made a karmic agreement.
Mm.
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
Yeah, it is interesting. Mm-hmm.
So if you
Yeah.
came into this world with a karmic agreement to have this disability, you
Yeah.
can't be spontaneously healed. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And it made sense to me
Yeah. It makes sense to me too.
because he was definitely a master, my friend.
Yeah.
So did you have
Mm-hmm.
any religious at all?
My mother and my grandmother were strong faith, and they used the word God. They didn't go to church, but they had such a unwavering faith in something greater, and just a sense of, I guess, love and something more than just this human experience. And so in that, it felt familiar. And so it's always resonated. Here's the thing. I was fascinated with church. I was fascinated with the conversations, the community, how people would, be in prayer and sing. I don't know the Bible. I don't know that it's just never, it's never really been my thing, but I feel like the feeling and the togetherness of it was very appealing. And the beauty of churches, I mean, the stained glass and the wood and all of that,
It's very
so
it's
magical.
not really what the power over there is about. The problem with churches is that they got tied up, especially like the Catholic Church. Remember, priests could marry and do what they wanted. They changed that law only because they wanted all the property the priest had.
Right.
They did eat fish on Friday, only because one of the popes was wanting more tithing from the places that had the towns that did the fishing. So if he made you all eat fish, you get better tithing.
Yeah.
But that when they start telling you what you can do and don't do, go ahead and walk away. But but the camaraderie can be beautiful, but there's a lot of people that are looking for something in that when all the time it was in you.
Yeah.
I always tell people you got to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
We're so busy energetically trying to control outcomes. The worst sin you can commit is taking away somebody's free will, which includes murdering them. But, a lot of parents do that with kids. They just think as I think or don't think at all. Yeah. And that constant berating or telling people what to do is not helping your spiritual goal. So, but I always say, get out of your own way. And I've read people I've had to say, you're alive, but you're not with the living.
Yeah.
Because you're just functioning. You're just functioning. Here's an interesting question from Joyce. If everything we desire to manifest is something we're in lack of, then we are in polarity with that, such as money or health or love. So how do you manifest from a place of lack without producing more lack of that which you wish to manifest?
I get it. And it gets hard for us to kind of comprehend that, or for me, it's hard for me to comprehend that. But I think the part about the manifestation is we've only got it partly right in Western culture. And the big thing with the movement that happened a decade or so ago, The Secret and all of that, we only got a part of it. And a big part that we left out was the feeling. So we would get fixated on the parts where it's like, it was lack of and deficit and this, and we told ourselves that it was, just a matter of our thoughts. And the other side of that is, well, then that's going to be really punishing for people who have not good thoughts around it. And that's not how it works. And so underneath it, I feel like there's a place and room for how we want it to make us feel. And in it, it's a bit of a tricky one, because yes, we have to be mindful of it, but if we could place it more in our heart brain, if you will, and be in that. And I think, like, sometimes, like you said, Linda, we have to get out of our own way as
Get out of your
humans.
own way.
We sabotage ourselves time and time again.
We think as man thinks, and it can't be helped.
Yeah.
We were brought
Yeah.
here with the gifts of something far greater, but
Yes.
we keep it in. But here's my suggestion too. When I was walking down the path with no breasts and no hair, and I was begging for my life because my boys were still young, please God, please don't let me die,
Yeah.
And a man said to me, the guy that always talks to me, what are you doing? You know there's no such thing as death.
Yes.
Because as a nurse, I saw a lot of people die, and I saw their spirits exit. And I got embarrassed in that moment. I said, you're right. And I handed into thy hands, I commence my spirit. I literally handed my life over. So when you ask for a manifestation or something like of, don't hold on to it anymore. Hand it over in faith.
Yeah.
Because I told him whatever. And that's what you have to do. Because if you keep visualizing and think, oh, doggone it, I knew I have bad luck with money. No, hand it over. Know in faith they've heard your prayer and allow. So you have to visualize, release, and allow. And then when you allow, all of a sudden you'll notice things start to manifest easier.
Yes.
Just like when I started being in grace, things started manifesting easier.
I love it. They're saying I'm going to try and get this right, because I didn't plan on saying this, but Dr. Wayne Dyer, 2 of his daughters wrote a book. And when you said knowing, you were in that place of knowing. The book is called The Knowing, if I'm correct. Serena and 2 of his daughters.
Is this post?
Pardon me. Yeah. So 2 of his daughters wrote this book, and it's there's a story in it. Just they were like excited to share this. They said one of his daughters, and I can't remember which one, she had some deformity or something on her face, and the book, the sister's recall of it was, there was all this attention and shame and this and willing it to go away and all of that. And so it became more and more of an issue. And she finally got to this point, and she didn't tell anybody, but she decided that she was going to love it, and that she put a different feeling around it, and it was love. And so she thanked it daily, multiple times a day. She gave it the love. She surrendered to it. And in that, it disappeared. And everyone was like, what did you do? And she held off from telling people, because she was like, what are they going to think? But she literally did something that was like, not many of us we can all do it, but maybe we choose not to. It was the surrender, and she loved it. And now that takes something. But what came from it was it went away. And so it just, we all have the ability to do the self-healing, and the, it fascinates me.
I surrendered my cancer.
Yeah.
And then after that, it'll be in my book, but something happened to me profound. And then I couldn't get the smell of the earth off my hands, like that fresh smell of a rain.
Oh.
And my travel members say that the smell of the earth is healing. And I think in that moment I was spontaneously healed of cancer, and it's never come back. Yeah.
I do another version of healing that's not as familiar in North America, and it's called spiritual healing. And it's like Reiki would be the universal energy, and spiritual healing would be connection to the spirit world and using us as a conduit. And I get to witness these events that I sometimes I'm in awe, and what the potential is for us to heal mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. All of it is nothing short of a miracle. And so in that, I love hearing when people have had those moments, and it's sometimes it's just a single moment, like walking down this path, and this is what you hear, and the trajectory of your life changes in that moment.
Right. I'll have to get that book. I like Wayne Dyer's book because it talks about the Tao, which is my favorite man, who I'll see in September.
Yeah.
Tolle,
Oh, Eckhart?
Eckhart. He's a master. He's a master.
Oh,
But anyway,
yes.
he's the one that kind of got me out of this visual of just letting it go. Be present. Be like
Yeah.
a kitty looking at a butterfly landing on a flower. Be
Yes.
in the now, and vibrationally, that actually makes you stronger. And like I
Yeah.
said, get out of your own way, be in grace, but don't hold on to those things that you think that are important. You
Yeah.
just have to say, okay, this too shall pass. I know it sounds crazy, but it works.
Yeah. I sat in one of Eckhart's lectures, and it was, I actually am familiar with the trance state. I was in trance listening to
Oh, I
him.
love it. He's a
It
master.
was
He's a master.
literally,
I know. He is
yeah.
so cool.
You're not writing one book.
I'm not. You're not the only one that told me that.
It's
I'm like, I'm already barely
multiple.
getting this
Yeah.
one out.
Oh no, it's
Okay.
it's multiple.
Okay. Well, maybe I
Yeah.
tell my life story.
There will be a series of something too. I don't know, separate from this one, but there's a series as well. Mhm.
Linda and her Minzes.
Sounds good.
10 books. That's what I'm talking. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
So,
I love that.
somebody said something that was great. Well, you don't really do. I'm not going to hit you up with anything political.
All good.
Okay, so this is a good one from Kelly. I can't wait to see this collaboration. Yay.
Aw.
Hopefully you can answer my question. It's more personal, but last year I was very concerned about something and had anxiety and stress over it. Out of the blue, I felt a hand rest on my right shoulder and it stayed there for a couple of minutes. I wasn't frightened or startled. I felt peaceful and the stress I was feeling literally went away. It's like the hand absorbed it. I would love to know who this was that comforted me. Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, and this is Kelly. Kelly, it was the main man, my main guy.
Yeah.
Isn't that, and just sucked it right up from her, huh?
Yeah. Full body, yes.
So
I'd be
Kevin,
curious if that resonates with her.
okay.
And we don't,
Kevin,
that's the thing. We don't have to be religious
No.
to be
No.
aware of those energies. It's energy. And I mean,
Now I saw a passage because I don't, I get this bits from some of the Bible is cut and diced by man, so you can't trust it.
Yeah.
Plus, that English was not the language. But I found this quote very interesting. I come not to bring you peace. I'm bringing you the sword. It's not verbatim. So Jesus says, I don't come to bring peace. I come to bring you the sword. Don't you think that's interesting?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think it feels like it's so separate from ego in that statement, because it's to not take away the power that we have within ourselves, that knowing, that ability, that all of it, all of the gifts and all of that. And so in that, I love it. That's how it resonates with me. It's, placing the power and the sword. And, there's times where we got to put our sword up and there's times where we got to put our sword down. I never heard that one.
The sword is double-edged, so it can cut you too. So that's why I tell a lot of people, drop that sword because you're cutting yourself.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is, what I'm thinking is, life on Earth can be very hard.
It's the hardest
thing. And we love our children. I have a friend of mine that loves his boys, and he suffers so badly because he worries every moment. But he's not overriding them. I can tell when he's talking to me. He kind of vicariously lives through them and wants the best for them. And I keep trying to tell him, breathe and just allow, because they're good kids and you're a good man, and the kids will have their opportunity. And sure enough, a lot of good news is coming up for them, but I just couldn't exist if I worried that much.
That's the key, Linda. It's about back to the breath and what that does for us. Not only physiologically, it does stuff for us. but it brings us back to the present moment. And we spend so much time in our past and future that we are just, it's hard to stay present as a
Yes.
human being. It's hard to stay present, and we have the ability to, but it takes something. And so in that, being present is something that I struggle with and I work on, and sometimes I feel like I'm a master
Oh, it's
of
hard
it.
to do as a human. It's hard to do because
It totally is.
it's hard to do, but the payoff is fantastic.
Yeah,
The
it's
more
the
you can
gift.
breathe and say, this too shall pass, this too, even when I'm
Yes.
driving, someone cuts me off. The old Linda would have been, hey, you SOB, but I just give it away. Just give it away. It's
Yeah.
going to be okay. And I'm not talking walk around being not in this world. Be appreciative of this world.
Yeah.
That connection, and I try to describe it to people that I live in most of the time. It's beautiful. It's almost like I'm
Mhm.
high as a kite. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can get depressed, and sometimes I'm overworked. And I got to ask you this too. Sometimes I wonder, do people really like me for me, or is it because they want my gift?
I think it's both.
You know what I'm
There's always a
saying?
duality and things. Yeah, I think I just
I
answer
mean, it's
that
cool. I like
honestly.
giving the gift, but
Yeah.
it also, kind of made me wonder. But I couldn't be a conduit if I didn't sort myself out.
Yeah.
So that feeling of anxiety, I got to tell you, I'm reading, and you too, people all over the world that have these children, or even themselves, that are suffering from severe
Hmm.
anxiety. I have a child. Well, he's 20, 27. He's not a child,
Hmm.
but he always suffered so badly. He's paralyzed with it.
Wow.
What do you say about that?
I'm hearing I just want to back up one thing. It's so common that I have a lot of friends and colleagues and have done some podcasts and stuff around the near death experience. And sometimes those are just like it, and I feel like you're in that knowing and that experience where the enlightenment, as enlightened as we can be as human beings, um, we it gives us that perspective. And I don't know what my other thought around that was, but it just something that you said reminded me of that. And so they said mention it. And then what was your question?
About it. Well, and also I wanted to tell you, it's like looking at a beautiful vista, and in that moment
Mm,
of feeling totally connected, that's what I
yeah,
feel. I feel high like that a lot.
yeah.
But, like even my own children, it's so funny because
Oh,
I was
thanks, honey.
always somebody of faith, and my boys look at me like I'm funny.
Mm,
Yeah, okay, mom. Yeah, okay. My one son, got a scientific brain, doesn't even believe in UFOs. How can you be a
right.
scientist and not believe in you? But anyway, what I wanted to ask you was anxiety. So many of my clients
Yeah.
are either they are anxiety ridden, or their children are anxiety ridden.
Yeah.
I think
So
there's too much information out there.
that's just it. So it's kind of two parted. So that I remember now why I said that. So Anita Morjani wrote about her
Yes,
NDE, her
I
near
read her
die,
book.
or
Yeah,
and I think it's called Dying to Be Me. And her
right.
follow-up book to that was it's brilliant. Anyone that's a sensitive to empath, and we don't have to measure, but just the sensitivity is growing and expanding. And in that, I think our humanness, the human aspect of who we are, it's overwhelming. And so, in that, because our sensitivities are heightening, our senses are expanding, the connection and the awareness is, the consciousness and all of these upgrades, if you will, we're struggling as human beings in
We
that. So
are.
she wrote a book, and it's called Sensitive is the New Strong
I'm going to
by
look at it.
yeah, it's brilliant. Sensitive is the New Strong by Anita Morjani. And it's just sometimes it's just recognition, how sensitive we are. And then in that, there's just sharing about how to cope with that. And sometimes it's really simple, and sometimes it's a little more complicated, but that's what comes through right now
It's
around
really
that.
hard for humans to get out of their own way.
I
As
know it
Eckhart says,
is.
resistance is part of who we are. Even
Yeah.
us as a nation, look at what's going on in our world right now. When are we going to learn our
Yes.
lesson? When
Yeah.
are we going to stop being in a state of resistance with these great guys coming in?
Yeah.
So sensitive is a new strong. I'll have to get that.
Yeah, brilliant book. She's a brilliant, and I listen to audiobooks. It resonates a little deeper in
I do
that.
too. I
And
do too.
she's the author. So I hope you love
Well,
it.
you know, she was introduced by Wayne Dyer. And
Yes.
Wayne, I read his, if you change the way you look at things, the things, and that's the Tao. So
Yeah.
I tell people if they can't do Eckhart, because listen, back in the day when I first tried to listen to Eckhart, he put me to sleep. I couldn't listen to him. But
Hmm.
after my awakening, now I
Hmm.
can't get enough of him.
Yeah.
But Wayne Dyer has a way of talking about the Tao that's extremely easier for some people to digest.
Yeah.
So I recommend that. That must have
Oh,
been amazing how he just keeled over. I thought he was 65. Then I heard he was 75 when he died.
oh, okay.
But he
Yeah.
had leukemia, fought it and won, and then keeled
Yeah.
over. He was
Yeah.
running like 4 or 5 miles a day.
Yeah. Wasn't he living in Hawaii
He was
or?
living in paradise,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just boom, he was gone. So I'm sure
Yeah.
he's very happy over there.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, I think that pretty much I'm trying to get out of anything political. Uh,
I mean, here's the thing. Can I actually mention something political?
sure.
Because and sorry if I get this incorrect, but the recent ruling around the abortion and
Yeah.
the weight and row, and it's something that I just want to put out there that women have been so instrumental. My grandmother, my mother, my aunts, my best friends, my sister, my community, my support, my allies. As a gay man, women have literally saved my life, gave me birth and saved my life. And in that, us men, the only kind of statement we should be making about it is how can we help you, how can we help support you in this. And so for men, this isn't just a crisis in the United States, it's global. And that's the thing, what's going to happen, and this is what I want to say about it, is that even though that's never going to be my reality, I'm still impacted from it. And what
Right.
that does to me is it takes me to a place of how can I help? And that's the call that I would make to men, to women, to everybody. It's going to be, I feel like there's a little more turbulence, and then it's going
It's
to
gonna, I'm telling you,
resolve.
because all these white men who
Yeah.
want to take the power are going away because they're
Oh,
going after gay rights next.
yeah.
They're going after
Yeah.
gay rights next. So this too shall pass is what my guides always tell me.
Yeah.
But what has happened, which is interesting, and tell me what you think. When they did this Roe versus Wade and this Justice Thomas, who by the way is going, he's leaving. I can see it, I can smell it.
Yeah.
But when this ugliness, quoting some guy from the 16th century,
Yeah.
even saying that the vaccine apparently has fetuses in it. This guy is cray cray. He drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is what is happening now is they awoke the sleeping giant.
Hmm.
And a few years ago, I said, because everybody goes, oh, the Republicans are going to win because they always do when there's a Democratic. I said, mark my words. I saw ants heading towards the polls. You know how ants go through anything?
Yeah.
I saw ants. And so it'll be so overpowering. It maybe not every state, but a good portion of states are going to turn around and say, no, we don't want you guys in control.
Yeah.
We want these rights back. And that's what's going to happen. So codify Roe versus Wade. If they touch the gay right thing, it's not going to last for long. And if you're in California, my governor is just like,
Yeah.
oh, hell to the no. He's the first one that allowed marriage here in California.
Yeah.
So basically I have to tell people don't phobic on it. Don't worry, breathe and wait for it. Cause everything, it's actually, they did us a favor by doing this, as crazy as that sounds.
Yes, Linda.
Because they will have to end their reign over this.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be surprised.
it's interesting, the energy, and I got a little bit nosy around it. And when I sat with it, I felt like there was actually an element of several of them, is what I heard, that were actually surprised that it did actually get overturned. And in that, so I got a little bit nosier and I asked, I was like, is there anyone that's going to have second doubt or like kind of like go, oh, damn. And I feel there is one or two that I don't know what this even means, but they're going to change their point of view or their perspective on it because of the impact that they're going to go like on their conscious. It's going to be like, I need to do what's right. And I feel like this is it. It's like this, and it's a hard one. These things needed to occur in order to make the change. And then for the protection and what's going to be created will be it won't be able to be penetrated. It will be indestructible. And that's
we trusted our Supreme Court. They got a 24% likability now.
Yeah, that's horrible.
We're going to put some vices on them. We're going to oversee them. They can't oversee themselves. They don't have to step off a case even though it's conflict of interest. They'll say they will, but they don't. Yeah. Amy Coney Barrett is one. She's still listening to her husband's case. Justice Thomas, Ginny Thomas was part of the insurrection. He still listened for a case. No, they're going to change that. They might even change the amount of time you can serve. And I see a couple of more new justices.
I love it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's it, you guys. Oh, hey, we lasted pretty good. Look, it's almost an hour.
Wonderful. Linda, bless you. And thank you so much for giving me this
much fun.
moment.
And I'm gonna go to I'm gonna subscribe to you.
Thank you.
And then I'm gonna go and put you on the list here where they say, but you're not open for reading.
Well, I am, but they're far and few between, but I definitely am. And
so Spirit works. Do they keep watching the show and you'll say, oh, by the by?
My website, I have a website, and then my brand new website is probably about 10 days from being launched, but I currently have a website, so people reach out all the time.
Okay. If they go to your YouTube, you probably got everything now.
People can, I just got like I said, my YouTube channel I started late May, and I just got my community tab, so I'll be able to let people know what's happening and all of that. So
I remember those days just sitting there not knowing why. Thank God for my son, because he's one of those people. And then one day he says, Mom, you can monetize. I said, what? Oh, okay. So I didn't even know I just do this with the camera. Me. I don't have fancy schmancy, nothing.
Yeah. Showing up, being in service.
You're lucky I even put a little lipstick on. Of course,
you look beautiful. I love the color. I'm always
doing the lipstick.
Thank you so much, Linda. Bless you.
You guys, thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you all.